Welcome back to The Missing Link. I am your host, Authenticity. In this module number 2, entitled From the Start, we are going to be discussing something that is very important to know because of the intention that we have set here. What I'm going to introduce to you now is the truth that what we are calling our reality is nothing more than past and our imaginations in the present. So, what I mean by that is our current reality is really only based on assumptions. Education and experiences have created what we call reality. An example of this would be when we are saying, "Oh, I don't feel like myself," and we're having a bad day. The fact of the matter is that we're comparing how we currently view and feel to something that we have in our memory. But the reality of the situation is not what we believe it is. Okay. If you go out into society and you interact with people, places, and things in various environments, and we have conversations and we interact with people on a level that is not our normal way of interacting. Maybe we're a little over the top, maybe we're really funny, maybe other things have changed in our personality, our expression. Then we feel when we're out of those situations that we come back to a base reality. Now, what if I was to pose the inquiry or the question is, what are we really coming back to? Is there a base reality that we come back to when we've been interacting differently in various environments and situations? Is there a base reality that we have to adhere to? Well, I've found that the answer to that question is no. That what we're calling reality is really just assumptions. Now, in order to see that more clearer, I want to bring something to the light. And the reason why I refer to ourselves as a verb and not a noun is because of the fact of what I'm about to say. What I'm about to say that can completely shift your perspective if you understand and embody what I'm about to say is that in all moments, all things are possible. I don't know if that's a quote from some other philosopher or anything like that. I don't believe so. I believe this is original. However, I'm sharing it with you and I'm saying, in all moments, all things are possible. This is not a guess. This is a fact that anything can happen. And the uncertainty of life, of the unfolding moments of what hasn't happened yet and what's to come, is evidence that we don't know what is happening. We don't know what's going to happen. In all moments, all things are possible. Like the mother who picks the car up off the baby, or the father who, out of the corner of his eye, or not even out behind his head, sees that his child's about to fall and grabs the child before the child falls. I'm sure you have seen evidence of what I'm saying. But the fact is that in all moments, all things are possible. So if that's true, which I'm proposing it is, then how do we have a reality? You see, what we're actually referring to as our base reality that we return back to, or that we always default back to, is really just life circumstances or life situations. Because if you were to look within your own life, let's just even go back 5 years, you'll see that in those 5 years, you changed your self perception, your perception of the world, and how you choose to act in various environments. Our identities that we unleash or express in certain environments, they evolve over time. And that is due to us getting feedback of how people respond, how good we are at manipulating. The things that we create as expressions to achieve some type of goal, whether it be long term or short term. That changes how we show up in the world. But the point I'm making is that we come back to an assumption. We are a verb that is constantly changing from that level of perception. We will go into deeper levels of perception as the course goes on and we go through different modules. But I really want you to see, I really want you to see from my heart to yours that in all moments, all things are possible. So, how can we say that there is a reality? There is not a reality. There is a current moment, but there is not a reality. Your life situation, circumstances can change like that, all of us. So, I'm saying that what we are cannot be an assumption. At one point, I assumed, because of what I was being told in my mind control, that I wasn't able to drink alcohol. At one point in my life, at a certain age or ages, this was true. However, I turned of legal age and was able to consume alcohol. So that whole time I was believing because other people told me that I wasn't able to consume alcohol. The same with learning how to drive or driving a motor vehicle. These are all agreements and assumptions that we believe are true, and most of them are kept as a reality because they come with consequences. So, consequences actually mold our reality. We know that if we do certain things or choose to express differently, there will be consequences because of that. However, there is no reality. We are only one choice or one consequence away from a new reality. This is important to understand because we realize where reality is created, and it's created in here. Every mind is a world. This is a statement I love to use when describing human life. We are all creating our realities, and we'll go into deeper detail as the modules commence. But for now, it's important to understand that there is no base reality. Now, even when we start to entertain that, we haven't even embodied that yet. Even when we start to entertain that, it starts to loosen up. You start to feel a crack. You start to feel a crack in your image, in your outer shell, and you're like, well, I certainly do have a checklist. I do have a checklist for my well-being. I feel that I have to have this, this, and this in order to show up in a certain way. Well, this is the evidence that you're creating your reality. There is a base reality, but it's not the reality that is of a mental nature. It is not. So then, if I'm saying that all things are possible in all moments, and I'm using this to show, to crack your base reality, to just crack it, that foundation, crack that foundation so we can build a new foundation, then build a home that is more stable on top of that foundation. We must understand at this moment that what we are has to be a fact. And the fact is that everything that we've noticed changing outside of us, which we will do practices later and see from a much deeper level of understanding, is that actually what we really are in base reality terms is that which is not changing. In order to notice change in everything that's changing according to the laws, we have to indeed be something that isn't changing. This has been referred to as the stillness, the natural state of mind. Okay? But it's important to understand this role, these life circumstances, these characters that we create are not based in reality. We're creating that reality using our imagination. Imagination, we can break in half the word, the etymology. If we break imagination in half, we see an image and nation. Nation is something that's together, created together, right? Just like a nation, the nation of the United States is formed by all the countries that make it up. Well, an imagination is an image we create in our mind and hold true as our reality, and then form it using information, meaning info in a formation, something that becomes conceptual. So that's all just rigmarole to show how our mental creations we bring forth as reality by this reality creating machine. But I want to show you at this part of our journey that where you think you're starting out from is not really where you're starting out from, unless you use your will to continue that in this moment. This is an important step or path, direction to take before we actually start the journey up the mountain. We need to understand that where we're starting from is not entirely true, unless we say it's true, because reality is unfolding. It is not something set in stone. This is an important thing to wrap your head around. So, what we must be is something that we can call a fact. Well, change is a fact. The law of change is a fact. So, we are constantly changing. But we will see as we go further. This is just a brief introduction. All I want you to understand, we will see as we go forward that we actually are not changing. In order to notice change, we have to be that which is not changing. But this first understanding or wisdom is to know that you cannot be one of your assumptions. You cannot be something that is proven wrong by years, age, circumstantial changes, situational changes. These things are all changing in front of something that is not changing. So understand that when you go and hang out with a different type of demographic person, and then you say, I'm so glad I don't want to people anymore. I'm glad that's over. When you come back to that base state outside of interacting with those people, that is still not your reality. That is just something that you've practiced and are calling your reality. I want you to see that you are no different from the law of change on the physical expression level of consciousness. Okay? So, this is a very important step, that there is no reality. Your current reality is based on assumptions. And if we are too attached to this base reality, like I'll give you an example, identity crisis, which is what this course will help you solve. If you don't even know, maybe you're on the level of an identity crisis. If you're feeling like you're not enough, or you're feeling like you have to waste so much energy with these checklists just to be okay with yourself, you're having an identity crisis. You're in the midst of an identity crisis. So this right here can help build a good foundation for the new house that we're going to build. And that is to understand that you cannot be an assumption. You cannot be anything that your own voices in your head and your experiences can change. That cannot ultimately be you. That is an aspect of your unfolding on one level of our existence. We will discuss the different levels of existence going forward. But I want you to understand that you are a reality creating machine. Matter of fact, the reason we are here is to add to this universe that is in constant expansion. We are here to create our truths and live from those truths. So I really want you to challenge this base reality made up of people around you, your secondary characters in your life, your vocation, your job, your relationships. All these things are mirroring back to you currently that you have a base reality, but you do not. That is all dependent on beliefs. I will see you in the next module. Thank you.